Welcome to Dental Success Beyond Chairside, the podcast that is dedicated to revolutionising the way dental professionals succeed beyond the dental chair. Join us for a unique blend of insightful interviews with industry experts and valuable tidbits of information to help you thrive in your dental specialist practice. In each 20-minute episode, we'll delve into a variety of topics, including HR, marketing, innovative techniques and systems, and AI, to help you transform your practice and unlock its full potential. Whether you're a dentist, specialist, or oral health therapist looking to enhance your practice, this podcast is your go-to resource for professional, personal, and profitable success. Get ready to go beyond the dental chair and discover what lies ahead in your practice journey with Dental Success Beyond Chairside. Welcome to today's episode of Dental Success Beyond Chairside. How confident are you that your sensitive data is secure? Could hidden IT vulnerabilities or internal risks be putting your business at risk? Today, I'm joined by Stuart Millington from Bluebird IT. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode, Stuart. We're looking forward to what you have to share.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. I appreciate that.
No, we appreciate having you here. Stuart has over 20 years of experience in the IT industry. He specialises in providing IT support, particularly for the healthcare sector, ensuring that technology aligns seamlessly with his clients' unique business journeys. Stuart, can you share your story with us and give us an insight into how practice owners can protect themselves from IT vulnerabilities?
Yeah, certainly, Michelle. I've, like you said, been in IT for over 20 years now. I started in New South Wales, finished high school. I wasn't sure what, wanted to go to university, but didn't know what for. My father said to me, well, you fix computers, you're good with playing games, why don't you do something with that? And I sort of went, yeah, I guess. Did a TAFE course and I figured I'll do this, and when I grow up, I'll figure out what I want to do. And I guess I haven't grown up because I'm still doing it. So I started in 2002 with a TAFE course, and then I got a traineeship with the Department of Education in New South Wales, which gave me a certificate in IT. From there, I had a couple of jobs around town in a local community. I came across to Perth on a holiday, loved Perth, moved over. Then I got a job with an IT company and was there for almost 10 years, moved to another one that was local to Mandurah, and was with that IT company for 7 years before deciding to start my own IT company.
Just speaking before we started, you have just grown enormously in those few years that you've had your business, plus multiple award winner as well.
Yes, that's very much a case of always a bridesmaid, not a bride, though. We've received many finalist nominations and did win the Alcoa Business Award for the community engagement last year, which was an amazing achievement.
Excellent. Now, just with regard to dental practice owners or, healthcare owners in general, IT is obviously a big thing. You've got your practice management systems. You've got all of your patient files on there. Staff obviously have access to sensitive data as well, not just patient files, but quite often there can be sensitive information to do with the practice. We're specifically looking at systems in this series. Can you shed some light on what practice owners can do to protect themselves against vulnerabilities that you see as an IT specialist?
Certainly. Some of the things you need to look at are firewalls for your systems, a physical firewall for your inbound and outbound protection, so that you're not letting malicious people coming in, people clicking on bad links that will lead to viruses or stealing data. You need to make sure you've got a password management system, something that will create random passwords that you'll never have to remember again. It goes straight into your internet browser so that any password you've got is saved in there, not using the built-in password saving utility that's
I was just going to ask you that.
Chrome.
And Keychain.
Keychain's a bit separate. Mac ones are really good, and the Mac password software is really good. The one that's built into Chrome's not so much.
I thought with the Keychain on Macs, you just need the password for the particular desktop to be able to open all of the keychains. So essentially, if you had really sensitive passwords that you wouldn't want all the staff to know, they would be able to get that password on Keychain. Is that right?
That is a case if you don't have your two-factor authentication enabled as well.
Two-factor
Absolute two-factor.
authentication.
Anything that can enable two-factor authentication should definitely be used. You definitely want to be able to say, I don't want someone to log in with just a password. They need to have my mobile phone with them that's got my Authenticator app on it.
Fantastic.
They are recommending to move away from SMS notifications for your two-factor authentication because these can be breached. I've lost count of the amount of text messages I get from random numbers that say my AusPost package is delivered or delayed and I've got an invoice waiting. So SMSs can be breached. So using that Authenticator app definitely is the better step to have for protection.
Do most of those websites, apps, whatever, do they use the Authenticator app? I mean, I have got multiple Authenticator apps for Google, Microsoft,
everything. Yes.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do most of them have that?
A lot of them do. Most of them should have it.
Okay.
Things like a bank or Dental for Windows, things like that, they should definitely have some form of two-factor authentication to log in. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now, when you talked about the firewall,
yes,
is there do you just buy a firewall?
You can. It's definitely recommended to have somebody set it up for you and monitor
a professional like yourself.
Absolutely. It's something that you need to constantly be looking at as well. You can't it's not a set and forget. You need to constantly be doing updates for it. You need to constantly be doing policy checks to make sure that all the policies are correct. Things are in place that should be in place. Things that are not in place for a reason. Basically just constantly checking it to make sure that you're not being breached. It's definitely a case of not set and forget.
Interesting. When you were talking about the firewall and people not like pressing on links, so the firewall can identify if that link is malicious. Is that right, Stuart?
Yeah, if you've got certain licenses within the firewall, depending which product you use, there's many around, Cisco, Sophos, Meraki. There's plenty of different devices around that will do the monitoring for that will protect it.
Because it is literally a person who generally will let a virus in, or they'll bring in a USB and plug it into your system.
Correct.
Then that has a virus in it, and then that infects everything.
Yes.
So,
and that is another step, absolutely. People bringing in USB devices. That's always a worry. So locking down ports so that you can't have just a USB plugged in from someone randomly picked up off the street. Plugging it in is super important. Likewise, you can plug in a USB drive into a printer now. So if you plug it into the printer, you can have that infected so that impacts the whole network. It's not just computers to worry about.
So you shut down all of your ports that can have a USB put in. Is that right?
That's exactly right, yeah.
Oh, so is that why the Macs now don't allow that? Because I've had to buy a little adapter to put in.
That's something separate again. You want to lock it down so that you can only allow USB ports when you're plugging in a device that you know about. And that you know is okay, not just the receptionist plugging in a device because they found it a customer or client might have left it on the bench and you're trying to find out whose it is. So you don't want them to just plug it in.
Do you offer training as well for team members to be able to sort of go through? I think that's just it, because that is probably your biggest vulnerability, do you think, is a person?
Oh, absolutely. If we look at the statistics that were released by the government from last year, January to June was the last ones they released, 38% of emails were sent to the wrong recipient. A human error. 24% were unintendedly sent emails. And you've got people that weren't BCC, they're just sent to all, and everyone gets their email addresses. Yeah, it's things like that. It is human error. It's 100% that, and it's training people. That is something that we noticed as well. Recently, we've had our clients come to us saying, do you offer training? And it's just, we need the basics of Microsoft Office. We need the basics of email and things like that. Going over that is super important because human error is definitely the biggest issue.
Yes.
There's something that it happens with everyone. Even I don't know a single business that doesn't have human error. That's the whole point of it. Humans make errors. No one's perfect.
No, so that's why we try and set up systems to reduce human error and sort of systemize or automate things to do it. But as you said, like blocking the ports, having a firewall, making sure that they can't identify as links. So if they do they press on the link, it's not going to actually do anything.
Absolutely.
Now, another thing that, and I know we just spoke about this before as well, and you read an article I wrote on it, was I had a poor practice owner and she had great staff members. She had a receptionist who started working there and she was really pleased with her, and her receptionist had some friends, some dental people. It was like everything was running wonderfully for her. She ended up getting theft from those people. They were ordering supplies, on selling them online just for themselves because she was too busy and too caught up in the clinical side to know what was going on. And then she went on the front computer, which is very unusual for a practitioner to do it, and she doesn't normally. And then she noticed that they had their personal drives on that front computer and they'd saved certain things like IP, literally things that were very sensitive on there. Luckily, she saw it and she was able to get it out. But what can you do to protect yourself as a practice owner from that, Stuart?
It's definitely about the security of your systems, tying down who's got access to what files and where you're saving those files as well. If you're creating one shared drive that everyone's got access to, you're opening yourself up to those liabilities for sure. If you're tying it down so that you've got permission to certain folders and files and everyone's got a separate login to their computers so they can't see those files and folders, that is definitely one of the very first steps that should be taken.
And that is very important as well, now that you've just said that, is having your own login to your computer and also your own login to your practice management system as well.
Absolutely.
Is really important, because I have been at a practice and everybody just had the same password. Everybody basically had administration, like full access to be able to do adjustments, whatever the owner would be able to do normally. So by having the login to the system, that sort of protects you as well. And then with these shared drives, so whether it be, a lot of them have the global shared drive, Dropbox, obviously OneDrive, there's multiple drives that you can do. I really advocate using those electronic drives to save standard operating procedures, but to have those password protected. You can have password protected folders in all of those.
Yes, you can do password protection, but really you want to make sure you've got that password vault so that you've got different passwords for everything. Yeah. Like you said, not using the same passwords.
Yes.
Going back to the logins, you don't want to have reception and everyone logs in with reception. Yes. Or staff. The amount of times I've seen clients that have one login and then they go, who opened that file? And you can see it was reception and that's it. You can't tell who it was. It makes it very hard in that way to also track what's going on with people if they're all using the one login.
Yeah. So what else, what other things? I mean, I'm obviously a total layperson regarding this. Cyber seems to be quite a big thing now. With getting a platform and having to pay a huge amount of money to get all your data back.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to report when you do that now as well, which I think has
impacted. What do you mean, report when you pay?
Well, you've got to report to the government if you are paying that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
In the last January to June of last year is the highest data breaches in 3.5 years. I think that comes back to also people actually having to mention that they're being breached, because while it may be, I think it's 530 odd companies in Australia reported it, it's the ones that don't report it that's the scary part. Because there'll be people who go, oh, it's fine, or they'll just not worry about it, and that's going to be the issue. The health sector is the top sector to be breached from data perspective as well. So what can practice owners do to protect themselves from that, Stuart? There's a lot that they need to do. Cyber insurance is actually a very big, important one to have, just to be able to recoup and keep the company running if you do get breached. And a lot of the time, it's never going to get breached. The only way that's going to happen is if you disconnect from the internet and go back to paper-based systems or have completely air gap, no internet. It's always a case of trying to mitigate it or creating as many hurdles as you possibly can so that it's hard to get breached. If you do get breached, having it as minimal impact as possible. Having
so antivirus. What we were talking about earlier, is that like firewall?
Yes, that's definitely a start.
Like 1Password or password management systems to make sure. Then having the firewalls, having specialists to actually monitor it, to look after it, so they can basically get onto a breach immediately because that's being monitored. Do you monitor them 24 hours? How does that work, Stuart? You definitely do. You have a 24/7 monitoring system that will be checking the logs consistently, and you'll be filtering the logs to make sure that you're seeing what traffic's coming in, what's going out, where it's going, things like that. You want to be very on top of that. And you'll have, when it's 24/7, you want to have a company that you associate with that will be having people all across the world, so that they might have someone working in Auckland and then in Manila and then in South Africa, so that it in the different time zones.
Exactly, so that you're covered the whole time.
Wow.
You want to have antivirus that has EDR, XDR, all the DR acronyms, basically.
You're using acronyms that we've got no idea that you're talking
Absolutely.
about, Stuart.
And that's exactly right. So, and this is the worst part about it, because there's stuff that you need to have, and you try to explain it and you start throwing acronyms that are terrible.
It sounds like dentists when they talk to their patients, they're just talking about stuff and it's just like, whatever, okay.
Absolutely. And that's definitely part of our philosophy, is keeping it simple, keeping IT simple, trying to explain it as simple as possible and keeping the systems as simple as possible. Because if you go right in and make it so complicated that you can't use the systems, it's no good to you. You want to be able to find that correct medium for somebody.
Yeah.
And being able to explain it, having staff that can explain this is what this does in layman's terms, instead of us nerding out and go, oh, this is so cool, it can do this, this, and this, and you just go, yeah, that's nice, then your eyes stays over.
So it's like, I always use the analogy with a dentist or a specialist, is that you're presenting a treatment plan, and the treatment plan has to be presented in layman's terms, which is very important. Is there anything that we've discussed or haven't discussed that you'd like to add from an IT perspective for dental practices and the owners to implement to help them not be vulnerable?
Some of the biggest things is making sure your systems are up to date. You're not running old systems. You're making sure, for example, in October this year, Windows 10 is no longer getting updates. You need to make sure you've updated to Windows 11 before October. Anything that is server-based, you need to make sure it is secure. You need to make sure that you lock down passwords, lock down systems so that people can't all just log in. You need to make sure as you said, your PMS software all has different logins. You definitely need to make sure you've got two-factor authenticator on everything that you possibly can. It is a pain, but it is a pain because it's going to make your life easier in the long run, because it does avoid getting breached. Yeah, absolutely. If it's painful for you, it's going to be better in the long run in some regards. Things like that are crucial.
Engaging professionals to help you protect yourselves, because everybody's basically getting onto IT. There's not many paper-based practices now, which is really, as you said, probably the only way that you would be protected, but that's just not even feasible in today's fast-moving world. Training your team as well is a really big thing.
Training your team is super important, absolutely. There's still a lot of people that say, I don't know technology, I don't understand. You can't be like that nowadays, unfortunately. You have to be able to accept that technology's here and it's always evolving. You need to be able to understand you don't send emails to everybody so that everyone sees their email addresses and things like that.
Yeah.
Make sure
and
you send it to the right
it is funny, interesting. I think that probably happens quite a bit as well.
And a lot of people won't think that as a data breach, but it is a data breach because you're giving personal information to other people.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. No, so I think you've done a great summary there, Stuart. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. We've really enjoyed you imparting your knowledge, helping us with a few simple things in layman's terms to help us understand. If you'd like to contact Stuart or learn more about Bluebird IT, please see our show notes for this episode. And yes, thank you so much again, Stuart. Really great to speak to you, and appreciate everything that you've said today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I really appreciate being here.
No worries at all, Stuart. See you.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast or YouTube channel. Your support helps us continue sharing practical insights that help your practice grow. In our next episode of Dental Success Beyond Chairside, we're looking at how to create more time in your day by using automation. I'll be joined by Lauren, a treatment coordinator at Harris Orthodontics. Lauren began her dental journey as a nurse in between music gigs, and now in her role as a TC, she's using tools like AI scribes to save time and stay focused on her patients. She'll be sharing her experience and how these tools are helping her work more efficiently and with less stress. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.